This is Into the Cess and Citadel in 5 minutes. Uh, Citadel, I'm just going to call it Citadel for the video because it's a long name, is fantastic. I love it. It is a supplement to any kind of fantasy game that you want to play out there. It is a game agnostic setting book. It's written by Alex Cogan and Charlie Ferguson Avery. You've seen me talk about Charlie's work in particular in the past, in specifically The Vast in the Dark, which is honestly like one of my favorite world building tools that I've ever seen with how the dice dropping works. And you're going to see a lot of that here in Citadel as well. This is the special edition. It's got the fancy new cover, which you should definitely pick up if you have the opportunity. This book is just filled with flavor. It just an insane amount of flavor. How it works basically is here's the sting on the back of the book. It says, "This city eats people. Never forget that." I love that, right? The idea here is that you buy this book if you want to set a campaign or move your campaign or your game that you're in right now into a colorful, vibrant, cramped, terrible city, essentially. This city is not necessarily it's not a great place to live. And this book is going to give you everything that you need to build the major components of a fantasy campaign that would take place in a city. One of my favorite things about this book is that they sort of call it the toy box method here. The toy box method is this idea that this book is full of a bunch of small modular rules that you could do the whole book as is. You could try and run it with every possible component. There's stuff about like traveling the city, shortcuts, traffic and crowds and stuff like that. Or you can kind of pick and choose the elements of the book that jump out to you that you feel are going to best suit your campaign, and other things that maybe don't fit the vibe of your table, you can just kind of cast those aside. What is the book full of? Well, it's full of a whole bunch of things. Monsters, for one, just tons and tons of monsters, like the cobblestone crab, which is just a great, fantastic premise for a monster. The book is also full of art throughout the entire thing that Alex and Charlie both did. Their style is fantastic. To see the two of them putting both of their arts in this book is it's really a treat. So there's a bunch of monsters that you can face. There's a bunch of rules on how to move about and navigate a city. But my favorite thing that's kind of going on here is the city building elements. You might remember from when I talked about The Vast in the Dark, the idea that there's kind of these cool dice drop pool systems that Charlie has used in the past to build delves and dungeons and things like that. And those very clever mechanics have been reimagined for a city environment. And so there's tons of new ways to build a variety of different parts of a city. Major cities themselves, there's even a die drop mechanic for figuring out the factions and their relationships to each other. There's a die mechanic for creating the ever growing spires that like streak up into the sky and how the dice line up. It's so clever. You could just very quickly drop some dice, and then suddenly you have a really interesting point crawl to just throw your players into right away. Beyond that, again, there's tons and tons of stat blocks for enemies. There's everything that you could possibly imagine that you could buy in a city is here. Countless NPCs, countless rules to add to an urban setting. And then, of course, there are specific things here that are for sort of the city that Charlie and Alex have created. So there are references to like these nobles who are these pretty terrible, almost like demigod sort of beings. They're just incredibly lavish, and when they hit the streets, it's a kind of a disaster for everybody else. And so there are rules here for like specific elements of a city that I think the authors have sort of imagined in their own sort of canonical city, with like an undercity, these sort of different districts like the Foundry District, the Cultivist District. This book is just absolutely incredible. Every page is just so much fun to read. It's either a new clever rule, a really crazy looking enemy, or just a new way for you to imagine how to run a campaign. You can literally flip to any page and be immediately inspired. I highly recommend picking up the special edition if you can get your hands on it. Otherwise, there will be links to the PDF and all versions of the printed copy below. And that's it. Bye.